Unmuted.
Oh, here we go.
Unmuted. Thanks, Tracy. Here we go.
Thank you. Be seated. Closing session.
22117 Commonwealth versus Karen Reed.
All right, the jury is at an impasse.
That's it.
We'll
It's
bring them
over.
in.
Impasse. Hung jury. Impasse.
So we'll bring them in.
The jury is at an impasse. I'm disappointed. I was really hoping the Tui Rodriguez instruction would get them there.
That's going to be the end. She's going to declare a mistrial, and that is going to be it.
Well, there we go. That's it. The jury's at an impasse. As we heard earlier, this is the third time the jury's coming back. They've been sent out twice. The jury coming in the third time. Now they've been unable to reach a verdict. This third time, this is the third strike. You're out. Under Massachusetts law, I guess they are required to declare a mistrial unless the jury agrees to continue their deliberations.
But let's see if there are any acquittals. This is important, even to know whether they acquitted on the murder charge or anything else.
The jury has been at an impasse since Friday. They've been trying to work it out, it seems, and they have not successfully done so.
The judge is going to declare a mistrial, which means this
All
case
right,
is still
Mr.
open.
Foreman, I am in receipt of your note. Judge Cannoni, despite our rigorous efforts, we continue to find ourselves at an impasse. Our perspectives on the evidence are starkly divided. Some members of the jury firmly believe that the evidence surpasses the burden of proof, establishing the elements of the charges beyond a reasonable doubt.
That's interesting.
Conversely, others find the evidence fails to meet this standard and does not sufficiently establish the necessary elements of the charges.
Right.
The deep division is not due to a lack of effort or diligence, but rather a sincere adherence to our individual principles and moral convictions.
Right.
To continue to deliberate would be futile and only serve to force us to compromise these deeply held beliefs.
Right. We're done.
Now that one definitely makes it sound like somebody on this jury is legally educated. The comment about having to compromise their deeply held beliefs, that's getting awfully close to legal speak.
Did you notice the verbiage that she used and the words that she used? It's very important to see and hear exactly what the jury foreman said about who, or more importantly, how many people are on each side of this issue. So multiple people, which I think they've already kind of led us to believe on the last comment that they made, but multiple people on this jury are on each side of the aisle when it comes to guilty or not guilty. And their deeply held moral beliefs will not let them change course.
That jury note is incredibly thoughtful. Some of us, it says, believe that the evidence has found this beyond a reasonable doubt. Some do not, which means, again, when we're looking at a split, you never know what the jury split is. When people were asking earlier today, why would the defense want a hung? Because if you have more people going for guilt, what you do not want is the jury to compromise on one of those lesser included. Some of those lesser included crimes have very significant impacts and prison sentences. So the defense much rather have the jury come back with a hung that they can work for forward than to have them come back with a compromised verdict of guilty on a lesser included.
I'm not going to do that to you folks. Your service is complete. I'm declaring a mistrial in this case. I'll be in to see you privately in a few minutes. So thank you so much for your service. Okay.
All rise for the court, please.
Mistrial.
I guess that's a mistrial across the board, since no one you'd have to know whether anything was acquitted or not. I guess not.
Did they fill out no part of the verdict slip? Nope,
Hey.
she doesn't pull them, right? She does
Nope.
not. They do not get pulled.
That sounds like a mistrial on everything.
How could you possibly, after going over all of the evidence, be of the conclusion that Karen Reed was responsible for the death of O'Keefe beyond a reasonable doubt? I just don't understand it.
Well, so they'll come back on July 22nd, just Mr. Yannetti and Ms. Reed. And at that point, that's when we can expect the Commonwealth is going to ask for a new trial date if they intend to go forward. My prediction is almost certainly they will ask for a new trial date, just if nothing else, to have the option open in case they change their mind later. But you know, can't rule out that they would decide to walk away. But quite frankly, if what they had already received in this case going into the trial wasn't enough to push them off the prosecution, I don't really think a hung jury is going to be a big impediment personally. That's definitely my read.
I'll be in to see you privately in a few minutes. So thank you so much for your service.
Oh, she's going to pull them in the jury
All
room.
rise for the court, please.
She's going to pull them in the jury room. We're not going to see a split. Maybe we'll get that information later from a press release from the defense or from the Commonwealth, probably from the defense. She is going to go see the jury in the jury room.
So she's releasing the jury. We are going to watch them kind of walk out of the courtroom here. But the interesting thing is she said she was going to go speak with them privately. And I know a lot of you guys have questions as to, can this jury talk about what the split was, what the vote was? They're usually told, and I've heard in Massachusetts, it's even more so, you know, don't talk about other jurors. Don't talk about where they are. If you want to talk about your experience, you can. Don't talk about votes or how the split was or anything you talk about in deliberation. So I did hear that that is strongly discouraged. I wonder if that's what she goes and does behind closed doors with this jury.
I went back over 30 days of evidence and testimony and just kind of briefly summarized. And every day that a new witness took the stand, there was new questions to be answered. There were new adventures to unearth. There was new theories that were presented or formulating as a result of evidence and questions in the case. In a world where you're supposed to have prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, I just don't understand. You'd have to break it down and explain it to me like I'm 5.
So first off, I want to point out the look on everybody on the defense team's face basically definitely indicates to me, I don't know if I'll say they're happy with this result, but I think they're satisfied and they're taking it as a win. And there's a lot of hugs and handshakes and good jobs and, you know, things that you wouldn't expect to see if they were really, really bummed about what happened in this case. So I do think that that's worth pointing out and worth noting.
Explain to me how the only reasonable conclusion out of all of the evidence is that Karen Reed backed over O'Keefe in a vehicle. Explain it to me. When the medical doctors got up there and said that his injuries were not consistent with the prosecution's theory of the case. And there was no counter evidence to that. I just don't understand it. I don't know what evidence they were relying on.
A lot of hugs, a lot of handshakes. So there was a little exchange between O'Keefe's brother and Karen Reed as he walked out. I don't know what he said, but more importantly, I think if you look at this defense team and we're trying to figure out who thinks what, who did what, who's happy with the result, who's mad with the result, it does seem to me like the defense team is a lot more satisfied with this result, even some smiles on their side, you know, some good jobs, some pointing, some thumbs up, to where I do think that they are at least okay with this result. And I'm just basing that off of what they're doing here on the way out. Thanking people in the courtroom, things like that.